For 2 decades, I've been working at the heart of policy and systems change. I've spent my time designing interventions to shift our systems towards a better future. And if that experience has taught me anything, it's this. Grand ideas are easy. Making them real is hard. When I set out on my Nuffield scholarship journey, I thought I knew the answer. I believed agroecology, farming in harmony with nature, was our silver bullet. It seemed to reconcile productivity with environmental stewardship and social justice, and my research plan was very much built upon that strong belief. But as I traveled and listened, my thinking began to shift. I grew frustrated by constant either-or debates. Conventional versus organic, local versus global, plant-based versus meat-based diets. And I realized something. I wasn't interested in picking sides. Instead, I started looking for the sweet spot between positions. This is a place where tension is real, but so is possibility. In short, I became less concerned with finding the one right solution and more focused on making every decision in the right way together. But let's start where we stand. Our food system is full of contradictions. We produce more food today than ever before, yet millions go hungry and suffer diet-related illnesses. We create abundance. Our farms are efficient engines of productivity, and yet they leave many livelihoods fragile. This system can feed the world, and it can also fall short. The very people who feed us often don't get a fair deal. Many farmers work day and night and still struggle to cover their costs. Farming cannot sustain families and communities unless it provides a decent living. And historically, the food system has shut out many voices. Young farmers, farmers of color, women, and urban growers. Those who see things differently are often excluded from the table. And when those with different perspectives are on the sidelines, our policies miss their mark. Faced with these contradictions, our instinct is to fall back on old debates. Organic versus conventional, land sharing versus land sparing, local versus global. These debates matter, but when they dominate, they distract. They pit us against each other, even though we share the same goals. Healthy soils, healthy people, healthy planet, and viable livelihoods. And what I've learned is this. What looks like a technical production problem, i.e. producing enough food to feed us all, is actually often a web of values, interests, and powers. And when policy is made without the lived experience of those on the ground, our range of solutions shrinks. Fewer voices lead to poorer policies, and poorer policies leave systems that can't withstand shocks. So, instead of choosing sides in old debates, what if we shifted our energy to designing processes that include more people, more perspectives, more ideas? That was the pivot in my Nuffield journey, moving away from a single right answer towards creating spaces where decisions can be made right. Spaces built on participation, on shared responsibility, and on inclusivity. I know this all sounds a little bit abstract, so I'm going to ground it in action. Across my visits and conversations, 3 starting points emerged as powerful levers. They're by no means silver bullets, but I think they are pragmatic and high-impact ways to begin bending our food system. The first one is land. Without access to land, no amount of skill or passion can grow into a farm. Yet land prices are sky high, rules are opaque, and historical discrimination has shut many talented people out. If we want fresh ideas in farming, we must open the doors to land through fair leasing, community land trust, land banks for new farmers, and transparent processes that welcome anyone who wants to farm. The second is livelihoods. When I was on my travels, I met young people drawn to sustainable farming because it felt right, but they hesitated because it doesn't pay the bills. Farming cannot run on values alone. It has to be a viable career. And that means building support systems. It means safety nets, technical assistance, incentives, and reasonable protections. So agriculture can be a career of hope and not a career of sacrifice. And when farming offers a stable future, new generations will commit their energy and their innovation to it. And the third area is new markets. Imagine if our schools, hospitals, care homes, and government canteens committed to buying local and sustainable food. That would do more than fill plates. It would create reliable markets for small and diverse producers. But this only works if it's supported. We need kitchens equipped for fresh local ingredients, co-ops to help small farms aggregate supply, and guidance to navigate paperwork. In other words, pair procurement with support. We know that the procurement market has power, but let's give it the scaffolding to lift everyone up. These three levers, land, livelihoods, and markets, simple to name, bloody difficult to deliver, but always worth the effort. And they won't solve everything overnight, but they do point us in the right direction. When I was on my travels, I've seen this work in action. In Rome, in Italy, city officials reclaimed idle public land and turned it into urban farms. They didn't stop at planting seeds. They created living labs where farmers, chefs, parents, and policymakers sat around the table to design food policy. They even formed a food policy council rooted in equity and participation. In Rome, public land became more than soil to till. It became a space where democracy and food truly intersect. I saw in California a different approach, investing in farm-to-school programs, not just by funding produce purchases, but by investing in kitchens, in grants, and incubator spaces. California changed procurement rules to allow small farms and farmers of color to sell to school, and today nearly half of California's school children enjoy meals with fresh local produce. The results? Healthier kids, richer farm biodiversity, stronger local supply chains, more secure livelihoods for smaller scale farmers. So what must policy do differently? What must we do differently? We have to move on from binary battles to participatory practice. And in concrete terms, what this means is we need to identify new leaders. We need to identify bridge builders, not loudest voices within echo chambers. We need to design for context and stop churning out one-size-fits-all solutions. Good policy must be sensitive to local realities. The intervention that works in one place may completely fail in another. We need to fund the process. Don't just fund the flashy output, fund the process. That means budgeting for participation, convening farmers, engaging communities, supporting co-creation. We need to give people time to talk, crucially listen and iterate. We really need to build trust between factions. And we need to pair procurement with support. So if you mandate local sourcing, build that scaffolding, fund storage, fund processing hubs, fund training and co-ops so that small farms can actually take advantage of the opportunity and meet that demand. Create spaces for policies that actually work. And this is how we begin to make decisions right, by changing how we create policy, not just what policies say. In practice, these principles lead to clear steps for each of us. Policymakers, if there are any of you in the room here, carve out participation budgets so farmers and citizens can shape plans. Simplify access to public land for new growers and small farmers. Align public purchasing rules with health and local food goals, making it easier to put local and nutritious food on plates. If you're a funder or an NGO, invest in patience and diversity. Longer project timelines and inclusive governance are critical to this change. Don't chase quick fixes. Fund farmers to engage with policy. Pay for their time and their expertise, not just one-off pilot projects. And for industry and buyers, invest in the infrastructure of change. Build regional processing hubs and flexible contracting that recognizes seasonality. Form relationships with small-scale farmers so that contracts can ebb and flow with the harvest. None of these steps are easy, but all of them can help bring much-needed diversity to the agri-food sector. So here's the ask. Let's create the spaces that change who speaks and who's heard. Invite more people into the conversation, especially those that have been left out. When we do that, something remarkable happens. Diverse participation unlocks new solutions. It stabilizes supply chains. It revitalizes rural economies. It makes our entire system more resilient, more innovative, and more just. Remember, incremental, inclusive change is not failure in slow motion. It's improvement happening in real time. Step by step, decision by decision, we can grow a better agri-food system. Imagine an agri-food system that is productive, biodiverse, and fair. To get there, we must see policy not as a static document, but as a design process that must include all the people it impacts. And when we do that, we grow more than food. We grow trust in each other, we grow resilient, we grow futures that are fairer, healthier, and more secure. I'd like to extend my sincerest thanks to Gillian Curry and the team at the MacRobert Trust for sponsoring my scholarship, to Rupert and Charlotte at the Nuffield Farming Trust and the wider team, of course, and to all of you for your time. Thank you very much.